Hello everyone and welcome to the Nature and Divine channel. Today I would like to start a new series of videos in which I will present the story that I'm currently writing. Ideally, what I would like to do is to make one video per chapters of the story, and hopefully I'll be able to continue writing at a good pace in order to publish these videos regularly. So the story that I'm writing is called Fragments of Eden. It is the story of the awakening of Persephone, the symbol of the soul. So what I'll do is, instead of just reading it word for word, I'll guide you through what happens, highlight some of the key moments, and talk about why they matter. You can think of it as a mix of storytelling and commentary. So this first chapter is called The Call for Help. It begins in New York City in September, and it opens with a contrast, a life of luxury interrupted by disaster far away. The story begins in the heart of Manhattan, in a penthouse of the Billionaires Row. We meet Celine, a middle-aged woman of South American origins. She is in her private suite and reviewing the schedule for the next morning. She is working for an important lady that is the main host of an investment fund launch. All of a sudden, her phone rings. She checks, it's a text message from her sister Gabriela from Peru. Apparently, there's been an earthquake, and she says that part of her house has collapsed. Gabriela lives in rural Peru. It's unlikely that any help will get to her soon. Celine is worried. She can't get a hold on Gabriela. She decides to go to bed because the next day is pretty busy. In the middle of the night, she gets another text. Her sister is fine, but the situation is not good. She decides to go next door to ask Persephone what to do. Persephone wakes up and looks for a TV station where they might be mentioning an earthquake in Peru. She finds one, and both of them stay a while to watch. There are only a few images from the air at that point, but it is nighttime. Nothing is really clear besides the fact that there is a lot of damage. Persephone tells Celine that there isn't anything that they can do right now, but that tomorrow she'll do her best to get as much information as possible. She even tells Celine that she might have to cancel or delay her attendance to the event so that she can dedicate her time to the Peru situation. In this first scene, we are introduced to two central characters of this story. Persephone, who is the main character, and her loyal servant Celine. In this story, Persephone is the actual mythological character found in ancient Greek mythology. She represents the soul of mankind. Let's quickly remember her backstory. She was with the nymphs in the meadow, the Greek equivalent of Eden, when she was abducted by Hades because she had breathed the perfume of a narcissus flower. Hades took her down to his underworld and made her queen. But despite all his efforts in trying to corrupt her, she remained truthful to her divine origin and never surrendered to him. So something I did not mention when retelling the story is about the peculiar eyes of Persephone. They change color and are often filled with mesmerizing patterns. This is to point out to the symbolic representation of the eyes as being the mirrors of the soul. So we said that Celine was Persephone's loyal servant, but she really is a protector. Actually, her very name, Celine, is derived from the Greek word that means the moon. And the moon is a powerful symbol of protection, and we will see that Persephone will have to count on her to fulfill her divine destiny. The next morning, we follow along with Persephone's day and her attendance of the sunrise event. The day starts at home with Celine. The two ladies watch more news about Peru on the television. The situation on the ground is pretty alarming. Persephone decides to proceed with her day, but she tells Celine that she wants to know if a humanitarian convoy leaves the US for Peru anytime soon. and if so, she wants to leave with it. Selene is surprised that Persephone wants to spontaneously go there in person. She is used to humanitarian missions, but usually in a much more organized and secure setup. Persephone has then a video call with Isadora Vale to do a quick briefing before her speech at the Sunrise event. Isadora is a sophisticated woman, expert in public relations. She always oversees Persephone's public appearances, and she guides her in her meetings. Persephone asks if she heard about the earthquake in Peru, and Isadora tells her that teams from Solace International Aid are being deployed there. Solace is a humanitarian company that they work with, and Persephone tells her that she will get in touch with their CEO to get more information. Here, we get to know Persephone a little better. She is very sensitive to human condition, and she wants to do everything that she can to help people. And this makes sense, right? As the symbol of the soul of mankind, she is strongly affected by suffering in any form. Also, we start to get the idea that she seems to be involved with a powerful set of people. She is going to launch an important investment fund, and she has access to executives of a large humanitarian corporation. But after all, she is the queen of the world, right? Persephone goes to the Edge Building, another skyscraper in Manhattan, where the event is taking place. She asked Selene to find as much information as possible about missions from Solace leaving from the US while she does her presentation. When she arrives at the event, she is greeted by a young and elegant lady that supervises the entire event. Together, they go to the 100th floor where the glass terrace is located. As she walks to the podium at the very tip of the glass platform extending from the building, a harmonious melody emerges from the blending of the distant sounds of the streets, the wind, and her heels on the glass. She delivers a powerful speech very spontaneously, without prompter or notes. As she speaks, her gaze almost penetrates everyone in the audience. She finishes with a remark about Peru, connecting the earthquake from last night to climate change, and reinstates the importance to promote the means to address this global challenge. This next scene is very interesting as well, because it gives us even more hints on Persephone's power. As she enters the Edge Building, her figure and attitude change completely. It is almost as if she were a different person all of a sudden. And we start to understand here that not only does her eyes reflect her internal state of being, her entire body and behavior changes depending on what she is confronted with. It is still a bit unclear here, but it seems that she is unaware of this, at least at this point, and that she is not controlling it. While coming back from the event, Persephone gets a text message from Hades. He invites her and Selene for dinner. When she reaches her apartment, Selene updates her on her findings about humanitarian missions leaving from the US. It seems that they might be able to join a convoy in a couple of days, flying out of San Antonio, Texas. They both get ready for the evening and set off to a bookstore in the West Village in New York. There, behind a bookshelf, they find a corridor leading to an elevator taking them several floors underground. They arrive in a Victorian-style private apartment where Hades and Lucian welcome them. Lucian is a French-Egyptian man of sophisticated posture. The four of them share a nice evening, and during dinner, Persephone tells Hades that she would like to join the relief effort in Peru. Hades accepts after discreetly checking with Lucian. They agree that herself and Selene would leave for Peru in 2 days. So, in this scene, we are introduced to the main antagonist of Fragments of Eden, Hades. He is a tall, beautiful man entirely dressed in white. He is very charming and elegant, and he wears a small downward-pointing bident with 2 crystal teeth, one black and one white. And at the base of the teeth, a small gem glows with a bluish inner light. Everything here remains very mysterious. We don't get much information besides the fact that Hades seems to live hidden. But after all, he's the master of the underworld, right? And his jewel that he wears gives us a first symbolic clue. He actually rules over dialectics. Dialectics has several definitions, but here it is meant in its most esoteric sense, essentially as the prolongation of duality in the world of men. The dinner ends and Selene and Lucian stay together and chat in the living room, while Persephone and Hades get together in a cozy bedroom. They sit next to each other in an intimate moment where Persephone's eyes take a flaming color. Their conversation is about children, and Persephone shares a scene she saw in the streets of New York and that captivated her, a little girl enjoying an ice cream with her parents. Hades is surprised by her story and wonders if she is feeling the call of motherhood and if it might get him closer to conquering her heart. However, she simply rests her head on his shoulder and tells him she is focused on her trip to Peru. Later, once back in the penthouse, Persephone tells Selene that she would like to go for a swim in the swimming pool. Selene arranges everything, and a few minutes later, Persephone finds herself alone on the amenities floor, diving completely naked in the pool. She swims for a bit, and then she lets herself float on her back for a while. She falls into a light sleep and has a striking dream. She hears a baby cry in the distance, but as she is trying to get closer, she faces a strong wind that prevents her from making much progress. At some point, she finds out that she's actually walking in water and that the level rises. It rises to the point where her face is getting underwater, and at that moment she wakes up coughing because water from the pool was entering her mouth. She gets out, puts her bathrobe back, and gets back to her apartment to get ready for the night. In this final scene, we get deeper into the relationship between Persephone and Hades. It comes out pretty strange. Persephone seems very keen to spend intimate time with Hades, but she never surrenders to him. And Hades, on the other side, has been trying to seduce her since forever without any success. However, we also understand, in a subtle way, that he cannot force her in any way, and that she has to offer herself to him. In their conversation, he sees the desire of Persephone for a child as a potential opportunity to conquer her. In the last part of the scene, in the swimming pool, we get a glimpse into Persephone's latent power. She is indeed connected to a higher realm, but subconsciously, and thus she has visions of future events, but in the form of dreams. Also, the fact that she loves being immersed in water and swimming is an indication that she is still in her aquatic stage, a soul that is still dormant. All right, and that's how Fragments of Eden begins, with Selene's call for help, Persephone's compassion, Hades' shadowy presence, and a vision that feels almost prophetic. This first chapter sets the tone, a world of luxury and power colliding with disaster and human suffering. Persephone is caught between these two realities, and her choice to act will lead her far from New York into something much greater. In the next chapter, we'll follow her as she prepares to leave the city and take her first steps toward Peru. All right, if you enjoyed this format, storytelling plus reflection, let me know, and I'll continue with the next chapters. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.